Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the PromoMinds podcast. I'm your host, Steve Leslie, and today I have a special presentation for you. This is a presentation that I gave a couple weeks back at the Georgian Bay Business Network. And it was such a fun time. It was the first time that I had ever presented something like this. So there were some insights and some tidbits that I took away, especially with some of the questions that I got asked. And I wanted to share it with you to get some of your insights, to see what do you think I touched on that you like and what didn't you like. So if you feel free, please leave some comments below. But here's a look at my presentation, and be sure to stay tuned afterwards because I'm going to come back with a follow-up on the insights that I took away and just to share a little bit more information. So if you like that, then please stick around and make sure you subscribe to the PromoMinds podcast. So thank you and stay tuned. More from the PromoMinds podcast coming up shortly. PromoMinds. Promote your brand, transform your business. All right. Thank you, Wendy. I just want to say, if you want to take a moment to write down my email here, promominds@gmail.com. If you want the slides after this, I can send that to you. I have a document that is kind of like a checklist for your website. And also if you want to be on my podcast, then you can totally reach out to me there. Taking a photo, that's even smarter. Okay, I'm going to bring this down here. Okay, so I wanted to show a little bit of insight into who I am. And as you can see here, Clarissa and I are engaged. We love Sedona, Arizona, and happen to catch the right photo here. So I want to showcase that. We love hiking, and she's like the only one that can really keep up with me, so that's good.
And beat him.
True. Up here is a photo from when I did 100K for Men's Health a few years back, which at the time felt awesome. Went out for a beer afterwards, and then I turned into the Tin Man without any oil. And then down here, this is a podcast called Canadian Investing in the US. I'm a cross-border real estate investor as well. Have a property in Michigan. I've owned a couple properties in southwestern Ontario and kind of focusing more on the US side. So that's a little insight into who I am. All right, so people do business with those they know, like, and trust. Who here has heard that or some form of that, right? Which a few years ago kind of got disrupted because the people do business with those they know, like, and trust. Typically, they do networking events, live events, in-person events. But as you know, the pandemic disrupted that a couple of years back. So with what I've seen, people have embraced video. It's kind of like the second best way of connecting with people. And I tried to figure out the best way to put it, and I found a clip from Shannon Sharpe, who's a former NFL player. He was interviewing Steve Harvey, and I just wanted to play it. It's a 2-minute clip, kind of funny, but it really sums up why video is really important for your business. And of course, we have an ad.
Denzel taught me the best lesson. We were at Sweet George, whatever it was, out in LA. This restaurant used to be very popular. And it was one of the nights, Sam was up for Oscar or something. And we were standing there at this thing, and Denzel said, I'm gonna show you the difference between me and you. He said, I'm a movie star, you a TV star. He said, watch this, just stay with me. People would come up, oh my God, Mr. Washington. Oh my God, Mr. Washington. I watch every movie, I go everywhere. Thank you so much, it's so great. and just treat him with reverence. He said, you know why, man? He said, because to come see me, you got to get a babysitter, get in your car, stand in line, buy a ticket, stand in another line, get your popcorn and stuff, go to a seat, wait, and I come up on the screen 25 feet tall. He said, then they leave and they don't see me no more unless they come to another movie. He said, I'm a movie star. He said, watch how they come up to you when they know you. As soon as they see me, Mr. Washington, oh my God, Steve, what's up, man? Hey, Steve.
They know you.
What up, man? Why you so great? Steve, remember that time? And I'm looking at him, and he said, you see the difference? He said, the difference is I'm a movie star, you a TV star. They got to pay to come see me. They invite you to their house every day.
Oh.
He said, dog, they think you a relative. He said, don't nobody have nobody come to their house unless they like them. They invite you in their house. Then they're making sandwiches, sitting in their drawers, watching you. You a relative to them. He said, so man, so when you go out in public, you got to be different from them than me and
So that's kind of the basis there, where it's a little difficult to become a movie star. I think we can all attest to that. But because of this platform right here, YouTube, you can become a TV star for your audience, and they can bring you right into their household whenever they want. I'm not going to show you clips from here, but I just wanted to mention these two guys I've interviewed in recent weeks. This guy here, Randy Chaffee, he's Michigan-born, lives in Florida, but he's been in the roofing industry for over 4 decades. And his whole motto was being a road warrior, you know, driving up and down the road, doing face-to-face meetings, shaking hands. But then, as we saw with the pandemic, that kind of got disrupted. So then he had to adapt. And what he did was he adapted video. So he still says, and this is why he calls himself the hybrid road warrior, is because he can connect with like 50 people in a day on his phone. Whereas if he's out on the road, he's only going to see, 5 or 6. And that can be just a 30-second video, selfie mode on your phone, send it to a client. In one particular instance, he was sitting on his couch and he pulled up his phone and he just did a little video going, I love you, sent it to a customer of his. And that guy responded like instantly. And he said, you don't know how crappy my day has been. And to receive something like that, no one has ever done for me. So thank you. I'd say that's building connection, right? This guy here, Ethan Long, he works for a company called Peninsula Canada, and they are a kind of like a subcontractor for HR and health and safety, where businesses that don't have that in-house, they can hire his company to come in and make sure they're compliant. And again, when the pandemic disrupted everything, one of their biggest lead generation sources was in-person seminars. Well, obviously when the pandemic happened, they had to adjust that. And so they went online, they went to webinars, and they found that their business actually grew exponentially more. Now, I would say that part of that has to do with such a confusing time back then, but he was able to reach more people because now you didn't have to get in your car, drive downtown Toronto in the middle of the morning, because even Brampton, that's not the greatest. You can just sit on your couch, pull it up, there you go. So this here is from Sprout Social. They had noted that people who spend time on a brand's YouTube page are twice as likely to buy. And there's another guy, I forget his last name. His first name's Neville, and he's the owner of the copywriting course, spelled with a K. And he said that although Google produces the largest internet traffic for his website, YouTube is the second leading traffic resource for him. But he said the people that come from YouTube, they're intention to buy is so much higher. And he attributes that to, like I said at the beginning of this, it's the next best thing to spending time with someone face to face. So I don't know if I've really coined this, but one of the things that I've discovered in the last year is that if you're able to build rapport, being in person, shaking hands, doing events like this, you can pre-build connection before you even meet a person just by having video up on your social media, on your website. So where is your focus? This here, and I see the irony here using an infographic, but this is how your customer prefers to learn about new products and services. Short form video, 73% of those interviewed preferred short form video. The second place is text-based website with 11%. Now the interesting thing about this is that people can retain up to 95% of complex information when delivered through video, as compared to just 10% through text alone. So if you look at your websites, most websites are largely text-based. They have the blogs, all that. People are retaining 10% of that. If you still want to write blogs and all that, and just convert it into a video, do a little touch point that way, you're speaking the language that people want to hear, and they'll be able to retain it more.
So instead of doing still videos of an image, do it as a flowing video, and that's more impactful.
You can,
agree with that too.
yeah,
Yeah,
you can still do kind of a moving image, I guess.
yeah.
That'll catch people's attention. But yeah, predominantly if you could do an actual video, and it doesn't even have to be extravagant.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get to that in a little bit too. So
One question,
Yep.
what's a short-term video? Sorry, really, I can't. What is the length of that when you say short video? What is that, like, under 2 minutes?
I would say under a minute.
Under a minute.
If you look at most of the social media platforms, under a minute is what they really go for their short form. But if you can say it within like 10 to 15 seconds, even better.
Yeah.
We live in a very nanosecond society today. And with that touch point, I might even say this later on, but so when it comes to YouTube specifically, YouTube you can do the long form with the format like we're seeing here, 16 by 9. But then their short form, they prefer it to be portrait. And what I've done in the last year is when I've released something as like a long form video, I'll do short form videos, which I'll show you how to do in a bit. And I use it as trailers. So if you think about box office movies, what do they do to get people to come see the movie? They release short trailers of it. So that's kind of what I do with my content is I'll take like specific points in the video to release just so people say, oh, yes, I do want to hear more about that. Okay. Here we have some video ideas that you can do for your business. You could make a podcast. That's a little more labor intensive. Testimonials, obviously word of mouth is the best form of advertising. So instead of just getting a written testimonial, why not get a video testimonial? Product demos. Now, I should also add, I come from the swimming pool industry, and the product demo is huge because people, especially pool owners, they want to see how to use certain things like chemicals and whatnot. And most of the pool industry does, even if they have a demo, they'll title it ABC product demo, which no one's really searching for, which we'll get into. And then FAQs. And I mean this, the frequently asked questions that people actually ask. I don't know how many people have gone on a website and they go to the frequently asked questions and it's really just questions that the company wants to answer. They don't actually have anything of value in there. This actually helped generate thousands of views at my last job because I was sick and tired of answering the same question every single day. I thought if I just made a video about this and put it online, I could either send it to people or they could find it themselves. And you can check out episode 1 of the PromoMinds podcast for more on that. So what do I talk about? Well, I just mentioned some aspects. So specifically, if you're looking at doing selfie videos or something where you can explain something, answer the frequently asked questions, right? Just mention that. What are people actually asking? What are the conversations going on? ChatGPT and also social media, which the next couple slides kind of get into. So what questions are your customers already asking you? I feel like I'm being repetitive here, but yeah, just keep that in mind. So if you finish a meeting with someone and they ask you a question, and maybe you've been asked that multiple times in recent weeks, there's your idea. Even if you just want to write that down for later, or one of the things Clarissa was doing last summer, because she liked to sit outside with the birds, she would record her selfies right there and put it up right after she was done with a client. This is for ChatGPT, a prompt you could use. What are 10 of the most frequently asked questions people have for my industry? And you can replace my industry with whatever your industry you're in. And this will give you a fairly good idea on what people are typically asking. It might not be as specific as what people are directly asking you, but it'll give you a good basis to go off of. Like Wendy shared a couple meetings ago, ChatGPT is great for getting off the blank page. And then for YouTube, what industry-related videos have the most views? What are people watching? And I think I have it next here.
I'm amazed what my kids watch.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I monitor, and I'm like, oh my god, why are you watching this guy? He's a grown adult playing games. Like,
Yeah.
like some of the, whatever.
Like the
mazes.
video games?
Yeah,
or
the
yeah.
ping pong from across the room, trying to get it in the cup, and I'm going, I love really?
Yeah.
Or you throw the basketball at the other end, and they bounce it, and it goes like across the gym, and I'm like,
Then go check the view count on those videos, and it's
I know.
Yeah.
It's
Tens of
astronomical.
millions.
I know. I don't get it.
not the only one watched it.
Yeah.
I clearly need more time.
There's,
Entertainment value to those things.
yeah. I mean, it's eye-catching, right? And then you kind of want to see, well, does he actually get it in, or, right? Now you're hooked. Now you got to watch it. All right, so I kind of mentioned this a little earlier. So rather than and again, I did this because I come from the pool industry, but typically people or companies will put ABC product demo when what people are actually searching for is how to fix a green pool. And I saw this. Anyways, here, these are the first 2 videos that popped up when I searched for this. And you can see how to clear a green pool fast, swim university, how to fix a green pool, right? Now, you can look at the views and you can see that this one has over twice as many views as this one. They're still watching, they still gathered a lot of views. But this one took 8 years, whereas this one took 1. Where I would say it has a lot to do with this thumbnail, right? Because you see what you're looking for, green pool cure, right? And it's kind of animated. Whereas this guy might be a little boring. It's fine, but just to keep in mind on those small details. You can also utilize the search engine, which, depending on what you're already searching for, it can sway that a little bit. So if you really want like a true general sense, you could delete your cookies and go incognito. But if you start typing this in, I started typing in pool, and these are all the suggestions that popped up for me, which typically YouTube's trying to tell you what other people have searched for, or other people like you have searched for. So you can get some ideas here: pool liner installation, pool design ideas, pool design, all the way down to pool cleaning. So you can get details from that as well. Now this is a cool platform. Has anyone utilized this platform before? Okay, so Neil Patel, I'm not as familiar with him, but he's like a huge marketing guy. He created this platform called answerthepublic.com, and you don't have to pay. It'll cost you your email address. But right here, you can look through Google, Bing search, or YouTube, and you enter a topic, brand, or product, where you're located, so which country, and then your preferred language. So if you enter that in, it'll generate something like this. And there's a few different pages that you'll get looking like this, but what I've done with it is I look for the most frequently asked questions or search for questions on the web. And so kind of blown up here, the how, you have all these like what, when, where, which, who. The how, this is kind of blown up. How does hiring a contractor work? So that's something that a lot of people are searching for. So if you're a contractor, you could create a video on, even if it's a simple selfie video, how does your process work? Again, how to hire a contractor. This goes through, I just use Google, so it'll go through Google entirely and pull up the most frequently searched for questions. So that's a resource you can use. And you can check out episode 13 of the PromoMinds podcast for more on that. Now, quantity versus quality. This, I'm going to go here, so this might screw up the presentation a little bit, but this is a video I did, and I had mentioned the first time that I came out. If you looked at the videos that I did, it's the most amateur thing that you've seen back in 2019 to 2020. But I'll just show you. Oh, it's not. Oh wait, there we go. Right here. This is going to be our dark pattern liner. So this is me in the basement of my townhouse. A dark gray backing. Now, when you see this thing in the light, try to get some pictures of this on our website for you. So then, all we had was photos of this, and well, this one was a newer one, so the photos were kind of new, but there were a bunch of other videos I made that was like, some of the photos were 15 years old. But I hit the wrong button here. But anyways, if you were to go on YouTube, oh, there we go. Now I can just show it to you. 15,000 views. For that? Okay. Yeah, whatever. This is a Vistaprint ad. And this was taken off Instagram. So this clearly says ad all over it, right? If you were scrolling through your stories and you saw that, you'd probably just swipe on by, right? Whereas, how many people, do you guys use Instagram, right? Have you ever caught yourself going through stories or even scrolling through the feed and you've seen an image or a video or something that you're like, oh, that's kind of neat, and you're watching it, and then you realize it's a sponsored ad? Yeah. So this guy here, watch this. Just a guy drinking cranberry juice, skateboarding down the street. It just might be.
Gin and juice. Some skateboard.
Would you believe that this video was the single biggest ad campaign ever created by, well, it wasn't created by Ocean Spray, but Ocean Spray has been around for 90 plus years. That little video sold out Ocean Spray all over the US.
Yeah, but did they plan that? They didn't plan that.
No, this is they did afterwards. But this was one of those situations where they saw it catching fire, and then the CEO created his own version of this. And one of the members of Fleetwood Mac actually did one as well. So I forget how many millions of views it got, but they gave him like a free pickup truck, and he might have got some money from it too, but
Cranberry juice for the rest of us.
yeah. He's a potato farmer from Idaho. So I'm showing you this just to let you know that if you're worried about having the Hollywood production, we just determined that you would swipe away from something like that.
Sometimes simple, keep it simple.
Exactly.
It works.
Make
It's authentic.
a ping pong video. And you can check out episode 12 of the PromoMinds podcast for more. All right, short form videos. So this is how I create short form videos from my long form videos for my podcast. It's a site called Opus Clips, or Opus Clip. And I believe you get about 2 hours of material for free, which the 2 hours is like, if you have a clip that's an hour long, that'll take up an hour of the 2 hours. So just be cautious of that.
You've got about 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm almost done.
Okay.
So the short form videos, this is what it produces. It does the captions for you. You can even type in keywords and it'll pull out specific parts for you. And then you can go in and you can edit it a little bit because it might take off a word or two that you need for context. You can also hit this button here and you can share it directly to your YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. This is Adrian Sauvageau, who's an investor and owns Hawkstars up here. So I didn't do anything to this other than stick it in that platform.
Some is going to make the trip out here because they want to be able to visit all these amazing businesses.
Right, so that's just a clip. Episode 22 gives in a more detailed look. If you watch that on YouTube, you can actually go through some of it more. So you can check out stevemakesvideos.com for more information. Also, this is the document that you'll get, but it's got like a checklist and everything. And so lastly, I just wanted to give you a call to action with what you can do with this. So the first thing I want you to do is, we're Thursday today, so I guess even in the next week, pay attention to the questions you get asked. Even just write them down. Or if you're feeling ambitious, you could record it right there. Second one, obviously make sure you record a video answering that question, right? And third, put it into Opus Clips, or if you have ever used CapCut, that's TikTok's editor, it's easy to use add captions. That's really the only reason for that. And then I would say upload it to your YouTube page or Instagram, whatever platform you're using, because even if the organic growth doesn't come, like not everyone's going to be like the potato farmer from Idaho, right? But you now have a resource, you now have a tool. So if people are asking you these questions, you can either start directing them to I suggest YouTube because it's like a free video resource library that you can create. So you can refer them to your YouTube page. You can have that on your website. You can also use this as an internal tool. So if you're bringing on new employees, you can, instead of giving them like a huge guidebook, which we learn people only will retain 10% of that if they even read it and don't fall asleep, they can actually go to a video resource library and they can have those questions answered without having to interrupt you multiple times in a day. So the learning curve gets that much quicker, you have less headaches, and it just makes it for a better experience moving forward for customer service, because let's say that new employee had asked you the answer to a question, and then they come back a week later and ask you the same question. Whereas maybe in a week, a month, whatever, they can just refer to that video resource library to answer that question for them or utilize it when helping customers. So that's my presentation. And lastly, of course, check out the PromoMinds podcast. New episodes every Thursday. So thank you very much. Well, I hope you enjoyed that presentation that I gave. And like I said at the start, that was the first time that I delivered that in person. So I had to cut a lot of stuff out. I put it all together. I had about just under 2 weeks to really do it. So there were some tidbits that I took away while listening to that, and I just wanted to bring them up. One of the things that I kind of touched on, but I didn't fully mention, was that Google is the biggest search engine in the world. I think we can all agree upon that. That's why they have the term, why don't you Google that, right? Instead of why don't you search for that, why don't you Google that? The second largest platform search engine in the world is YouTube, which is also owned by Google. And that's why I think YouTube is such an underutilized tool amongst businesses, is because it has the capabilities to be used as a search engine. And that's why I had mentioned, while you're creating your titles for your videos, to make sure that you're addressing it as to what your target audience is searching for, rather than titling it something like ABC product demo. The second thing that goes along with that is this is something I got from Evan Carmichael, is it's the only social media platform where you could create content 10 years ago and it'll still populate for people today. That's huge. If you go on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you're on the content hamster wheel. You're constantly creating new content and trying to post it multiple times a day, every day. Whereas with YouTube, yes, it's good to be frequent with it and to come out with new content fairly regularly. However, if you created a video 10 years ago about maybe how to record yourself, or if you're a contractor, one of the things that was talked about there, how does your process work? How do you hire a contractor? 10 years has gone by and that'll still populate. Actually, one of the examples I gave on there, in terms of the how do you fix a green pool, the second video was from 8 years prior. So that's huge. You do something one time and it can last forever at this point. Who knows if YouTube changes their platform in the years to come, but at this point, it reigns true. And to couple on top of that, if you think about a social media ad campaign or even a paper print advertisement that you do, it lasts that until that campaign expires or until that magazine is no longer relevant. Whereas you do a video and you upload it on YouTube, and like I said, it stays around forever. The next thing on there is that this is something I talked with a couple people afterwards, is that 60% of all consumers, I would imagine it's more now, but at least 60% of all consumers are going to do some form of online research before even considering reaching out to a company. That's not to buy from a company. That's just maybe a request for a quote. Maybe that's just to go and check out the store. So video, with all the points that I made in that, I don't want to go back to that because it's all in the presentation, but video is what people are wanting at this point in time. And if you can create a video resource library, if you can have videos on your website, you increase your connection with people. You increase your ability to at least do a quote for someone, right? At least to get them into your store or to reach out to you. That's huge. And one of the examples that I gave off camera is that if you look at human behavior, they say word of mouth is the best form of advertisement. Yes. However, how many times have you gotten a recommendation to reach out to someone and you find yourself having to check out their testimonials or having to find them on social media or look at their website just to make sure that you fully resonate with that brand or that company or the people behind that company? That's what I'm talking about. So I want to include that next time. Also, one question that was asked off camera was, it had to do with lighting. And one of the women there asked me for guidance on how to set up your lighting capability so that you have proper lighting. To which I had responded, don't worry about that right now. And the reason for that, we had a couple of photographers, videographers in the room who, the one did a great presentation on ways you can use natural light and how to position yourself really quick and easy. And I love it. Awesome. My whole notion with the presentation was just to get people to get off the cliff, to take that leap and do it. And the reason is because half the battle is just showing up. It's something that I've talked about a lot in how I was able to run 520 miles in a year, how I was able to run 100K in a day. It starts with taking those incremental steps, the minimum goals, right? And if you haven't committed to doing video, if you're not used to it yet, it's a scary thing. You're putting yourself out there. I totally get that. When I started the podcast, I was like, all right, away we go. I'm going to talk to a camera, right? And it felt weird. It did. But after a while, you get used to it because the more you do something, the easier it gets. And so my whole notion was just to do it, because if you're sitting there and you're worried about the lighting, if you're worried about how your hair looks, your makeup, what you're wearing, you're going to get in your head and you're not going to do it. You're going to have that analysis paralysis. And if that excuse exists today, it's going to exist tomorrow. So the best way to overcome that is to just do it. Look at Sarah Blakely. Sarah Blakely is the founder of Spanx. It's $1 billion company. If you watch her Instagram, she will put out videos, selfie mode videos in her stories. She's not wearing makeup. She doesn't have her hair done up. She's, some of the time, I won't say half the time, but some of the time she's eating like Cheez-Its or Cheetos or something along those lines, because it doesn't matter. What she's saying is she's either sharing an experience that she's having, and really it's just kind of part of her brand about being fun, right? But then there's also times where she might be sharing something, maybe a marriage tip or something because of what she's experienced with Jesse Itzler. And so it's just a fun way to showcase yourself, to share and connect with your audience. And one of the things I talked about is video is the next best thing to being face-to-face. But it allows you to connect with way more people because you don't have to travel from place to place to place, something I mentioned early on. So really, the takeaway here is to do it. To record a video, and maybe you don't want to put it out on YouTube right now, right? I get it. If you want to put it out on a platform where it's going to be deleted in 24 hours, then look to Instagram. Put it in a story, because that way you've done it, you've committed to it, you've done it, and if it looks bad, then in 24 hours it's going to be gone and nobody's going to remember it. So the basic plan is just to do it. That's why the call to action was, I made it so simple. Write down or keep note on a question that you get asked in the next week. Something that you might find yourself answering multiple times a day or a week or even a month. Record a selfie video of how you would answer a client or someone who asks that question. How would you respond? If you were standing face to face with that person, how would you respond? Once you do that, just to make it easy, don't even worry about the captions. If all you're doing is you want to get past the fear of recording yourself and putting it out there, record yourself answering that question, put it up on YouTube, or put it out on your Instagram stories, something that's going to be deleted in 24 hours. You could even put it up on YouTube and delete it yourself. Just do it. Get in front of that camera. Get used to being in front of that camera, because the more you do it, the more you'll learn. And you might say, hey, I was completely darkened out because I had a window behind me. Okay, well, maybe next time I record something, I'll change that. How do I do that? And you start to pick up these nuances that you can then reach out to other professionals in the industry, people who are legit photographers and videographers, and get their guidance. But my whole thing is, don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Get out and do it, and it'll get easier the more you do it. I promise you, it's not as bad as you think it is. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of the PromoMinds podcast. If you have any questions or comments, please either reach out to me. The email is going to follow at the end, or you can leave a comment below. So thanks again. I'm your host, Steve Leslie. And until next time, take care. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of PromoMinds podcast. I'm Steve Leslie. And if you want help crafting your message or sharing your story, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help. Love coming up with ideas, and we can have a nice chat. So reach out to PromoMinds@gmail.com and I'll respond. Take care.